Hello everyone, back again with Brain Game. I have collected some games. Here are the top 10 new RPG games of 2022. Before we start to discuss the top 10 new RPG games of 2022, don't forget to subscribe, like and comment. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you all don't miss a video from us. Of the many new RPG games, this time we have summarized RPG games that are very interesting, very exciting, and also popular in 2022. Here are the top 10 new RPG games of 2022. 1. Little Devil Inside. Little Devil Inside is an upcoming action-adventure video game developed and published by Neostream Interactive. It is planned for initial release on Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 in 2022. Followed by Nintendo Switch and Xbox One at a later date. Gameplay. Little Devil Inside is a third-person 3D action-adventure role-playing video game with elements of survival, combat, and open-world exploration. However, its developers, Neostream Interactive, have described the game's survival elements as rather easy compared to other games in the survival genre, stating that the game is not about how long you can survive in a certain environment, instead being about taking a trip for a mission, and surviving during the process. Examples of in-game survival elements include harvesting water from cacti, chopping wood to make a fire, and cooking food obtained from hunting. Players can use a variety of weapons and tools to survive and accomplish their objectives, such as a sword, shield, gun, grappling hook, bombs, tent, and cooking equipment. 2. AVOWED. AVOWED is an upcoming first-person fantasy role-playing video game developed by Obsidian Entertainment and published by Xbox Game Studios. It was revealed at the Xbox Games Showcase on July 24, 2020, and is set to be released on Xbox Series X, Xbox Game Pass, and Microsoft Windows. Gameplay. AVOWED takes place in the fantasy world of Aora. It is rumored to be set in the northwestern continent of Aether, or the far northern continent of the Living Lands. The deity Wodika, the exiled queen, the Oathbinder, is prominently featured, being one of the most commonly worshipped gods in the Aether Empire. Effigies to Galawain, the patron of the hunt and the wilderness, are also shown in the trailer, and eat your own symbols are used throughout. 3. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is an action role-playing first-person shooter video game developed by Gearbox Software and published by 2K Games. The game is set to be released for Windows, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One and Xbox Series X and Series S in March 2022. Gameplay. Similar to its predecessors, the game is a first-person shooter with elements of an action role-playing game. The game can be played solo or with 3 other players in online or local split-screen multiplayer. The game is set directly after Tiny Tina's assault on Dragon Keep, and like that expansion, the campaign is set within the world of a fantasy-themed tabletop role-playing game. Tiny Tina will be its dungeon master and can change the game's world on the fly. For Babylon's Fall. Babylon's Fall is an upcoming action role-playing hack-and-slash video game developed by Platinum Games and published by Square Enix. The game is set to be released for Windows, PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 in March 2022. Gameplay. Babylon's Fall is an action role-playing hack-and-slash video game played from a third-person perspective. The player assumes control of a sentinel who must scale a massive tower known as the Ziggurat. Players started at a hub area known as Sentinel Force HQ, where they can interact with other players, visit shops or blacksmiths to purchase gear and upgrades, and access quests. Each quest can be played solo, though the game also supports 4-player cooperative multiplayer. Players ascend 3 to 4 floors in each quest until they reach the summit of the tower. Along the way, players will unlock loot which can be used to enhance the strength of the characters. 5. ELEX 2. ELEX 2 will see players return to the post-apocalyptic science fantasy world of Magalan, with huge environments that can be explored freely on foot or via jetpack. ELEX 2 is officially set to be released on Tuesday 1st of March 2022 on Steam, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Xbox Series X/S, and PC. The story of the game? Several years after Jax defeated the hybrid, a new threat arrives from the sky, unleashing the dangerous powers of Dark ELEX and endangering all life on the planet. In order to defend the peace on Magellan and the safety of his own family, Jax has to go on a mission to convince the factions to unite against the invaders and find his own son, Dex, who got separated from him. Six. Lost Soulicide. Lost Soulicide is an action RPG inspired by Ninja Gaiden and Final Fantasy XV. The story of the game? Lost Soulicide's action takes place in a universe where magic mixes with futuristic technology. A few years after the Great War between two conflicted kingdoms, the world was at peace. However, this peace did not last long as the beasts started to pose a new threat. Player is Khazar, the captain of an elite order which has one goal: to fight monsters. The main hero had an accident, which resulted in a permanent connection with one of the invaders, called Arena. The hero quickly discovers the benefits of this strange pact and learns that creatures aren't as primitive as they seem. We learn the motives that push them to attack the protagonist's world during the game. Seven. Triangle Strategy. Triangle Strategy is an upcoming tactical role-playing video game developed by Square Enix and Art Inc. Development is led by Tomoya Asano, producer of the Bravely Default and Octopath Traveler games. It is scheduled for release on the Nintendo Switch on March 4, 2022. Gameplay. The game is a turn-based tactical role-playing game in the vein of Fire Emblem or Final Fantasy Tactics. The player takes turns moving characters from their party across a grid-based playing field in which computer-controlled opponents must be attacked and defeated. Each character has a set value for movement range and attack power and range per turn based on their inherent attributes, and alterable ones, such the terrain they are positioned on, and weapons or armor they are equipped with. Characters must be positioned to attack opposing forces, which deplete their health points. Losing all health removes a character from the battlefield. 8. Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin. Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin is an upcoming action role-playing game developed by Koei Tecmo Games and Team Ninja, and published by Square Enix. As an alternate universe retelling of Square Enix's original Final Fantasy on the Famicom, the storyline follows a set of characters brought into a fantasy world to face the malevolent chaos. The game is set to be released in March 2022 for Windows, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X/S. The story of the game. Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin is set in a dark fantasy interpretation of the setting for the original Final Fantasy game, with a group of people drawn into it from another world. The main character is Jack Garland, a man consumed by a need to destroy chaos. He is accompanied by other companions, including similar newcomers Ash and Jed, and during the journey faces a knight who has taken on the role of chaos. While seemingly the foretold warriors of light, each has doubts as to whether that is their role. 9. Final Fantasy XVI. Final Fantasy XVI is an upcoming action role-playing game developed and published by Square Enix for the PlayStation 5. It is the 16th game in the mainline Final Fantasy series and is being produced by Naoki Yoshida and directed by Hiroshi Takai. Final Fantasy XVI is set in the fictional land of Valisthea, a continent with 6 factions that are on the verge of conflict due to a spreading malady called the Blight. The story of the game. Final Fantasy XVI is an action role-playing game set in the fantasy world of Valisthea, where the people live comfortably thanks to mountains of crystal called the Mother Crystals. The main cast includes Clive Rosefield, Joshua Rosefield, and Jill Warwick. Clive is the firstborn child of the Archduke of Rosaria who embarks on a quest for revenge after tragic events involving the Dark Icon Ifrit. Gameplay has Clive fighting using a combination of melee-based sword attacks and magical abilities. Forspoken. Forspoken is an upcoming action role-playing video game developed by Luminous Productions and published by Square Enix. It is to be released on May 24, 2022 for Microsoft Windows and PlayStation 5. Gameplay. The gameplay will be focused on terrain traversal speed and fluidity. Square Enix also described the game as a narrative-driven adventure. The character will exist in an open-world game format where players are able to travel anywhere at any time. The story of the game. Frey Holland is a young woman who is transported from New York City to the fantasy world of Athia and uses magical powers to journey through it and survive in order to find her way home. Those are some of the top 10 new RPG games of 2022, and there are lots of other games that are no less interesting. If you have game recommendations, you can write them in the comments section. Don't forget to always follow the latest videos from us. Thank you.